Hmm. Okay. Well, so today, I don't know if you saw it, Mimi, because we had a youth service, and we sang the song "Use Me," and it turned out very well. And so, thinking about that, I found a scripture that is interesting. I want you guys to look. It's Hebrews 12:1 through 29.
Wait, hold on.
And I wasn't gonna read it yet.
What?
Hebrews 12:1
12 and 1 through 9?
29.
Oh.
Maya, this has
Yeah.
nothing to well, it does have something to do with it, but it was so random. I was
So,
typing in Hebrews in my browser and it literally showed Hebrews 12 and 1. Like I didn't even finish it, but that was like the first thing that popped up. Just say.
okay. Everybody got it?
Mhm.
Okay, so who wants to read first? Because I'm not gonna be able to hear.
Yeah, I will.
Okay, be me.
Okay. Wherefore, seeing we also are compassed about with so great a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and the sin which doeth so easily beset us, and let us run with patience the race that is set before us.
All right. Can you read verse 2 too? Thank you.
Yeah. Looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is set down at the right hand of the throne of God.
Okay. So, these two verses, what is, after listening/reading these two verses, what do you think this is saying to you? What are you getting from this?
Were you asking the whole congregation or just me?
I'm asking everybody.
Okay.
Oh, go ahead, Mariah. I didn't even know you had your hand raised. My bad.
It's okay. So what I'm getting from it for basically telling us to walk with God. Yeah. That was a very bare bone sentence. But yeah, that's all I got.
Wait, what did she just say?
Are you not
So
listening, Nyla?
she were at 12 and 2?
One, 1 and 2.
Okay.
Well, if you start at
Um,
verse, did you have something, Mila?
no.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna talk, and then I'm gonna come back to you two, and you better have something.
Hmm.
Okay. So, with verse 1, therefore, seeing we also are compassed about by so great a cloud of witnesses. Let us lay aside every weight and the sin which does so easily beset us, and let us run with the patience. Just my bad. With patience, the race that is set before us. Actually, give me 1 sec. I need to grab my. Ugh. Okay. Yeah. We're gonna find this in this Bible because This might be helpful. Oops. My bad. Hebrews. All right. All right. So at least when I'm getting this, what this is saying to me is that if we were to say this in like, if I was to say this in my own words, it would be because of all the people we've seen before us, like, and we have many witnesses of living by God's word and by His command, that we should set aside every weight, all our problems, all our issues, and all sin that, you know, sin our sin, our nature. We also have to set that aside, which is probably the heaviest weight we can bear is ourselves, because we can't get away from ourselves, and that's something that we'll never be able to get away from. So that tussle and that fight is going to be continuous. So we're going to have to continually lay that down and let us run. We're going to have to run with patience, um to get to where we want to go, which is heaven, because the road set before us, we don't know how long it is, which is why we have to have that patience and that endurance, because the person who will win the race isn't the person who's the fastest or the person who's the strongest, but it's the one who keeps going and keeps on pressing, even in the hard times, even when it feels like they're weighted down, casting their weights to the Lord, like it says already, and continuing in the faith. It says in my Bible that they use the word every encumbrance because of the different um, version this is. So it says every encumbrance, different from the sin mentioned next. This refers to the main encumbrance weighing down the Hebrews, which was the Levitical system with its stifling legalism. The athlete would strip away every piece of unnecessary clothing before competing in the race. The outward things emphasized by the Levitical system not only impede, they entangle. So that's interesting. So, you
Wait, what
know,
were you reading? You weren't
I'm
reading.
reading a footnote from my Bible. This is
Oh,
not
okay.
in it's not in your Bible. But that makes a lot of sense. Basically what they're saying is you're not just looking the part. Does that make sense? It's not about the outside. It's about making sure that inside is where it's supposed to be, cuz the Levitical, what do they call it? The Levitical system had a lot of ceremonious tradition that they did, a lot of outward ceremonies that were done, and that's what God had them do for that time. But once Jesus came, that time's over. Uh, excuse me. And Hebrews was written, I believe, the time after Jesus came, and it was written by, let me see, who is this written by? Uh, should be in here. Okay, so the author is unknown, but
Is it one of the disciples? I thought one of the disciples wrote Hebrew. Maybe I'm
well,
wrong.
it says, yeah, I believe so, but it says that um the official author is unknown, but some people they think wrote it were either Paul, Barnabas, Silas, Apollos, Luke, Philip, Priscilla, or Aquila and Clement. But yeah, so we're not sure who exactly wrote this. But these were people after Jesus. Like they were disciples after Jesus died and rose again and ascended, right? But yeah, I feel like for the first verse, it's really just talking about taking off all that ceremonious stuff and putting your whole heart into chasing after God, chasing after what He has for you, chasing after heaven ultimately. And then verse 2, looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith. Now you guys know where that comes from because we say it a lot. At least at our church, we say it in affirmation. So now you guys know where that comes from. who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is set down at the right hand of God. Um, in my Bible, I do like it does say the author and finisher. In my Bible, it says, "Fix our eyes on Jesus, the author and perfecter of our faith." Um, man, I can't think of it because there's something that's connected to that. Let me look that up because there's something that I don't know if my brain is telling me something wrong, but there's something that I can't quite get. Um, okay, but the first part, fixing our eyes on Jesus. Um, like in the song that we sang today for youth choir with the song, it was called "Use Me," and that's what the song was about. God using you as an instrument of praise. The only way, and actually, the youth service turned out really well, even though stuff in the back always seems to, like, preparing for it feels like stuff starts to fall apart. But one thing that it has taught me, and what these experiences continue to teach me, is that you got to focus on why you're doing what you're doing. You're doing this for Jesus. Because if you get my mom, I was talking to my mom about it, and she was like, you put your eyes on people, then you're gonna get super, like, you're gonna be stressed all the time. You're gonna always have issues. Versus if you keep your eyes on God, who you're ultimately supposed to be doing this for, even in times where you may be frustrated, you're gonna keep going and you're gonna be fine because you know that at the end of the day, if you're doing this for God, God's gonna blow on all your efforts. um and fixing your eyes on Jesus, even not even in church setting, but also in school and outside of church, which is, to me, in my opinion, more important because sure, you're at church, people are going to be talking about God, but you should also make sure you're thinking about God when you're not in a setting like that. Making sure you're focused on Him in settings where other people may not necessarily be focused on Him, because you might not necessarily always have somebody around that also believes what you believe, and it's important to be strong in that and to fix your eyes on Jesus by doing your best to read his word, doing your best to pay attention and service and to participate in what's going on in the church and things like that, and praying too. um Despising shame, that part is something that I find interesting. I'm not quite sure what that means. Um, but I just read something that was interesting. The part that says, "Who for the joy set before him endured the cross." What they mean by that, what's meant by that, is that though Jesus didn't necessarily want to experience all that pain, because we know that because he prayed that if he didn't have to go through it, that he prayed to God that if the cup could pass from him, then please let it pass. But if it was God's will, then that's what he was going to do. So he had to go through all that pain, but he had the joy at the end to know that all these people, all these innocent people who didn't do well, we're technically not innocent, but all these people who want to be right, who want to be saved, who want to be right with God, they can now do that. And they won't have to go through have to carry all the weight that the people in the Levitical times had to. Does that make sense? Because like he knew what his job was and why he was doing it. And there was a joy in the fact that he knew that he would be saving people who want to be saved and giving people who want a chance a chance. but even within that, obviously there was still a lot of pain and a lot of things that no person would want to go through, but he went through it anyway because he had his eyes fixed on the purpose that God gave him. Like, of course, Jesus didn't have his eyes fixed on Jesus, but he had his eyes fixed on his Father's will. He had his eyes fixed on what God put him down here to do, and allowed God to use him the way God wanted to use him. Because Jesus could have, like, the devil tried to tempt Jesus, and Jesus could have said, "Okay, sure, devil, I'll bow down to you," but he didn't. And it's like he had a choice, and he made that choice. He made the choice to be about his father's business. Oh, did somebody say something? No. Okay, never mind. Oh, uh-huh. Let's see. Oh, hi, Javen. By the way, we're at, I don't know if anybody's looking. We are looking at Hebrews 12. Um, all right. So, okay, anything else? Despising is set down at the right hand of the throne of God. Okay. And oh yeah, the last part of that, and is set down at the right hand of the throne of God. Yeah, now he has all power. He went through all of that so that we could be saved, and now he's got all power, and he is the one with, he's our mediator. He's the one that really, he looks out for us, and he, knowing how like Auntie Ayush just said, he knows the feelings of all our infirmities, I believe it says, but he understands because he experienced it. He experienced temptation. He experienced fear. He probably experienced, like, if he's experienced everything, that means he's experienced depression. He's experienced anxiety. If you think about, like, the grasp of him feeling all of that, like all of it, he understands all of it. He experienced all of it. He knows and he understands all of it. And the fact that one person, because he was a person at the time, one person able that took all of that on, that's heavy. That makes sense. So, like, even if you feel like no one understands, Jesus understands. He knows. That's why he can be our mediator, because he understands. Um so who would like to read verse 3 and 4?
I can do it.
Okay.
For consider him that endures such contradiction of sinners against himself, lest ye be wearied and faint in your minds. Ye have not resisted unto blood, striving against sin.
Okay. So, does anybody have anything to say about those two verses?
Um, basically, just not doing what your flesh and yeah, in your mind wants to, that is bad. I really don't know how to explain it. One of you guys can go.
Mm-hmm. Javen, go
Naomi or
ahead.
Javen? Yeah.
Okay, so I don't really know the lesson, so I'd like to be explained like after I think I know what it means, like
Hmm.
what the topic is. But what I think the scriptures are saying is basically consider him because he has like sinners have done a lot to him, and don't be worried, I think, in their like heads that God will help them us, and uh don't resist the blood of Jesus for sin. And then what's the topic tonight?
Um, well, I kind of wanted to go with the theme of what we did for youth service today.
Yes, I'm so mad I didn't get to hear it because I was feeding Angel.
It's okay.
Oh.
It's okay.
But what was the topic of today?
Um, letting the Lord use you, basically.
Oh, okay. Okay, period. Okay, thank ya.
You're welcome. Go ahead, Mimi.
I was trying to pull up. Is it? Do you guys broadcast these? Ooh, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you guys broadcast the youth service?
Yes, it's
Yeah.
on Facebook.
So, okay, good. Because I was really just on Facebook looking for it. But before I do that, I was gonna say, add on to what Javen said, about like how Jesus fought sinners and stuff. Let's add on to that. I think it means that he's it's basically saying that like you haven't resisted to the point of like, wait, oh my God, stop. Sorry, guys. I have the translated version. I was wondering why this is so easy to read. Well, because I have the NIV version in front of me.
Hmm.
So I'm gonna use this to help me, but also I'm gonna put the King James like right next to it.
Okay.
Um, I think it means that basically that like look to Jesus as like a source of encouragement, kind of.
Hmm.
Like if Jesus can do it, so can you do it. But like also don't be discouraged because you haven't like lost any like physical blood.
Hmm.
I don't know if that makes sense.
No, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I
for like,
think.
go
What
ahead.
reason? No, I had nothing else. Yeah, that was it.
Okay. So for verse 3, for consider him who has endured such hostility by sinners against himself, so that you will not grow weary and lose heart. So, and I'm reading a different, like I'm looking at the King James version, but I have a Bible, a physical Bible, and it's in the NASB version, New American Standard Bible. It's supposed to be, I guess, like a direct translation from Hebrew to English. Um, maybe. Um, but I think what I'm getting from this is consider Jesus who endured a bunch of terrible things by sinners' hands, if that makes sense. Like they did all types of things. They lied on him. One time they tried to kill him, but they couldn't kill him because it wasn't his time. Like his own people tried to kill him. Not just Jews
Okay, next time
specifically,
I
but
ask a
like
question.
in his hometown, the people in his hometown. Possibly some of these people even knew him and grew up with him, tried to kill him because they said he was lying and that he wasn't the son of God. And he was lied on and he was physically beaten up, probably spat on, all types of things, like talked about all types of things. So he he went through everything. So like when we go through things, like we don't need to be like sure you may be it may be disheartening and it's not gonna be hard because I believe it was hard for Jesus to go through stuff like that. But he was able to get through it and still do God's will. And he's our example showing us so can we. And I think that's also a special reason why, and I could be wrong, why Jesus was, well, he was human and divine because we needed a man to pay the price for what man did. But also, when we think about him being our mediator, why he can be our mediator is because of, like I said before, he went through physical things and mental things. So us as and he was a human being. Like, yes, he had God inside of him, but he still had feelings. He still had life. He was a child at one point. He grew up. He he was a human being. And I think when you actually think about that and realize that yes, God was his father and he was human and divine, there was still he was human. That was a very important part. He was human without sin, but still human. That human nature was still inside of him. It was a perfect human nature, but that doesn't mean he didn't have feelings, because that's a human thing, having feelings. Sin comes in where you follow those feelings and do things that aren't okay because of those feelings. But having feelings is a human thing. So it would make sense for him to have feelings. But even despite what he felt, he still endured and did not give up on what God told him to do. And then for verse 4, you have not yet resisted to the point of shedding blood in your striving against sin. So basically, what it's saying is you have not yet been close to even being killed. A lot of Christians back in the day ended up being, well, specifically the disciples, I'll say, they ended up being martyred. They were killed, and in very, very brutal ways. And what this person is writing to, whoever he's writing to, I'm not sure who he's writing to. He's saying that you have not been in a place so bad that the people you almost have been killed, right? Like you haven't gotten there yet. Like you haven't gotten to the point where you're almost killed because you're trying to do what God has told you to do. And let me look, because there was something in my Bible that said something. Where is it? Here it is. None of the Hebrews had experienced such intense exhaustion or persecution that it brought them to death or martyrdom. Since Stephen, how many of you guys know who Stephen is? If you don't, it's okay, because I was just going to explain who Stephen is. I know Mila and Moma know, but Javen and Mimi, do you guys know?
No, I never heard a casual name from the Bible.
Yeah, and I think that's partially where I think, is Stephen a Roman name? Because it sounds like a Roman name, which is why you probably think it sounds normal. I mean, but at the same time, they had a lot of interesting Roman names too. Okay, it's an ancient Greek name, and it's translated to Stephen. Um, but Stephen was he was a, disciple of Jesus, and he was known. He was a very young disciple and very zealous, and he did a lot. He worked really hard within his ministry, and that's what he was known for. But he was also very bold about his beliefs and about him being a Christian. He was very bold about it. He was very outspoken about it. He made, like, he was not going to keep his mouth quiet about the good news and what Jesus had done for all of us, right? And so where he was at, I believe he was in Jerusalem. You know, the closer you got to Jerusalem, technically, I believe the more dangerous it was for Christians, because that's where the Sanhedrin and all the priests were and stuff like that. So, like, what happened was he was put on trial for saying blasphemous things, and he was put on trial in front of the Sanhedrin, I believe. Um, and they told him that he had to take back what he was saying about Jesus, and he would not. And he started preaching to them, which made them angry. So what they did was they took him out and had him stoned. And this is also, I believe, this is also the first mention of Saul. Well, who of Paul? Wait, is his name Saul first? Saul.
Yeah,
Okay,
Saul then Paul.
thank you. The first mention, I believe, of Saul, because Saul, he witnessed Stephen's death, his murder or martyrdom, essentially. And that was at a time where he hated Christians. But that's who Stephen is. He was a very young disciple who was martyred uh, because he followed God and he believed in Jesus and all that stuff. Um, so, but I digress. So since Stephen and others had faced martyrdom in Jerusalem, it would appear to rule out that city as the residence of this epistle's recipients. What? Oh, okay. I get what they're saying. So like, yeah, I don't think whoever they wrote this to, I need to just look at whoever this was sent to or whatever. I don't think they ever experienced or been like no one there. Like there's never been an apostle or a disciple there, I think, where they've seen it or anybody there who had experienced it necessarily to that degree. Because of course, if you guys didn't know, Christian actually was supposed to be a derogatory term. I don't know if you guys knew that. That's what it was supposed to be in the beginning. Um yeah, it was a derogatory term. I think they called them like Christos or something. Let me look it up real fast. Another history fact for you. I don't know how to spell derogatory. That's terrible. Are you sure? Okay. There's no historical evidence for it. Um okay. I mean, it depends on who you ask, but a lot of people believe quite there are some people who believe that it was used as an insult, supposedly. Like that's what people were trying to use it as was an insult. Um, but of course, why would you take something like that as an insult? If you're calling me a follower of Christ, it's like, yeah, that's exactly what I am. So like, I don't understand what you're trying to do. But yeah. Um, who wants to read the next two verses? I don't think we'll be able to get through all of this by the time because I kind of have to leave probably around 9:30 because I have some chores I got to get done. Go ahead, Momo.
Okay. So I read 5 and 6.
Yeah, 5 and 6.
And
Ooh,
ye have forgotten the exhortation which speaketh unto you unto children. Yeah, wait. And ye have forgotten the exhortation which speaketh
exhortation.
exhortation, my brain, which speaketh unto you as unto children. My son, despise not thou the chastening of the Lord, nor faint when thou art rebuked of him. For whom the Lord loveth, he chasteneth, and scourgeth every son whom he receiveth.
Okay. Well, I remember reading this actually quite a bit, especially when Bishop Jeremiah Reed was alive. I remember reading this quite a few times. So, and you have forgotten the exhortation which is addressed to you as children. So I'm gonna look up exhortation so I can give you guys a definition of that because I'm pretty sure it means preaching, but I want to see if there's a better exhortation, a better way to define that. Okay, so in the Bible, exhortation refers to strongly encouraging, urging, or pleading with someone to pursue a specific course of action. That's one. It's a personal call to someone. an urging. So so it's basically saying, have you forgotten the urging, which was addressed basically to them as children, because we are God's children. Okay, so does anybody want to say anything on these two verses before I say anything else? Go ahead, Momo.
Well, it kind of highlighted a different, well, a perspective. Because us naturally as humans, when we're told not to do something, or we get in trouble with quotation marks. We find it as a bad thing. We usually think of it negatively. Um, but and that makes it even more interesting because the whole reason that we do think of it negatively is because of our sin nature, and our sin nature doesn't want to be corrected because it doesn't want to be close to God. It doesn't want to do what He says, and that basically kind of, as a human, helped me to think about, yeah, maybe I won't feel good when I get disciplined, but it's out of love. It's out of knowing that you're going to do better. You just need to do these certain things before you get better. Yeah, that's kind of what I got from it.
Okay. Thank you, Momo. Is there anybody else who has something they would like to say about it? Ow, that hurt. Okay. I'm trying to pull my hair out, guys. I don't know what's wrong with me. Okay, so we're going to talk about. I wanted to also define what scourge means because I don't know if you like, I've heard of that word, but I didn't really know what it means. But it says, at least in my Bible, it says scourges. This refers to flogging with a whip, a severe and painful form of beating that was a common Jewish practice. So, like getting whooped, pretty much. It also says in here is here the writer recalls and expounds trials and sufferings in the Christian's life come from God, who uses them to educate and discipline believers by such experience. Such dealings are evidence of God's love for his own children. Yeah, because if you think about it, who would you correct someone that you don't care nothing about? Like somebody saying something stupid, but you don't care nothing about them. Are you gonna correct them? Probably not. I'm probably not gonna bother them. But if it's like your friend who you really care about, you probably gonna say something and be like, chill, if that makes sense. Like, no, don't do that. Go ahead, Javen.
Okay, so in correction, do you mean like talking or like actions?
Um, I mean, for us, probably it would be talking, and if stuff got worse, it'd probably lead to action. Cause like if your friend starts cussing a whole bunch all of a sudden, you just like, bro, chill. Why you don't need to do all that? Stop saying stuff like that. But they keep saying stuff like that, then you might have to just not be around them. And that is a way. That is a way of disciplining, I guess, them. But it's just also a
Setting
way
your
of,
boundaries.
yeah, exactly. Because that's what God does. He sets his boundaries. This is where you're supposed to be. This is what you're supposed to do.
Well,
Anything
like,
outside of that isn't good. That's not what I said, pretty much. Like how
yeah.
parents, they set boundaries all the time with you. You're not supposed to do this. You're not supposed to go here. You're not supposed to be up past this time. Those are boundaries set that are not just to tell you what to do, but they're for your benefit. Does
Hmm.
that make sense?
Yeah. Well, like, to the question, like, for my friend, like, of course I do something like check them out, of course. But like
Yeah.
for somebody that I don't care about, I tell them to shut up. But that's an
Right.
instinct. Like, because they just sound ignorant. Like, it's not even for the benefit of them or me. It's the
Mhm.
point to where you sound so ignorant, you need to shut your mouth.
Mhm. Right.
But yeah, that's my answer to the question.
Okay, cool, cool. Thank you, Draven. Um, go ahead, Mimi.
What was the question? I was gone getting tea.
Oh, no problem. I was just asking, like if your friend, so like it says in verses 5, like the second half of verse 5 and verse
Mm-hmm.
6,
Mm-hmm.
um, that God disciplines people that he loves. And it's like kind of like with us, we don't check people that we don't care about. Like you're not going to correct somebody that like you don't like them, you don't care nothing about them, you're not going to say nothing, right?
Oh yeah,
And
100%.
but like if there's somebody you care about doing something you know is not okay, you're going to say something about that, right? Like if your siblings trying to steal something, you're going to be like, "What are you doing?
Yeah.
Don't do that. I'm a snitch on you." Stuff like that. Does that make sense? And you
Yeah.
may do that if somebody else steals because that's a bad example, but like the reasons for it is different. Does that make sense? You
Yeah.
love your siblings, so you're gonna, rather than you waiting for them to steal something to tell, you're gonna be like, don't do that. And even if they don't do that, you probably still gonna be like, hey mom, dad, I caught so and so trying to steal something. They didn't, but you know,
Yeah.
yeah, Momo.
It's just a really random blurb, but you comparing it to what God does to us and how we do to people, it just reminded me of the scripture that we are made in his image. That's it.
Right.
And there's a lot of parallels of how we act, which is not saying the similarities, like they
No,
can
yeah,
be
there's a
compared
lot
to.
of similarities between the human nature and how God handles things. The only thing that separates us is that sin nature, but that human nature is created in God's image. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah. Which is also why he tells parents to train up a child in the way they should go, and that you're supposed to discipline them, because if you love, like he loves us, he disciplines us. Why would he have parents do something different? Does that make sense? Like why would he have them not discipline their children? Because people who don't discipline, when you don't discipline your children, that's you neglecting your responsibilities, which if a parent loves their kids, they wouldn't do that. Does that make sense? Even though sometimes discipline seems like it's not love, it really is, because discipline helps you to learn boundaries. It helps you to know what you should do and what you should not do. And discipline can be set in different things and be at different levels. God knows, that's why also we aren't supposed to avenge, because God knows how to discipline each and every person to where they'll get it. Does that make sense? Like he knows what this person has to go through so they can learn whatever lesson that they need to learn, because he loves them and he wants them to get it right. So he's like, okay, well, you did this and you can't just get away with it. So you're going to go through this and you're going to learn this lesson, right? And also, yeah, it's just something to remember, because we're not going to be perfect. So we're going to be disciplined. That's just, you shouldn't be afraid of being disciplined. That's going to happen because you're not going to do everything right. Just like with parents, you're going to slip up at some point and do something you shouldn't have done, and you're going to be disciplined. But all you can do is take the discipline and just take it, because you know what you did wasn't okay. That's also shows maturity as a person, and also probably spiritually, is when you know you did something. Sometimes you don't know, but when you know you did something and you're being disciplined, is taking it because you did that. Does that make sense? You did it. That was your choice. And it doesn't feel good, but you know at the end of the day, it's because God is trying to cleanse something out of you, and He is trying to teach you something so that you won't have to make that mistake again. Does that make sense? Um, was that it for both of these verses? But yeah. Who wants to read 7 and 8?
Can I read them?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you guys still hear me? I changed apps.
Yes, ma'am. We can still hear
Okay.
you.
Okay, Hebrews 12:7-8. If ye endure chastening, God dealeth with you as with sons, for what son is he whom the Father chasteneth not, but chasteneth
Chasing
not?
it. Yeah.
But if ye be without
Chastisement.
chastisement, whereof all are partakers, then are ye bastards and not sons.
Okay. Does anybody want to say anything about that? Go ahead, Momo.
Basically that God has standards for his children, and if you can't follow those standards, and if you don't want to follow those standards, you aren't considered one of his.
Okay. Good job, Momo. Anybody else?
What chapters did we just read?
Oh, we just read verses 7 and 8.
Okay, okay, okay.
Yeah, David?
Okay, so I didn't quite hear what Mariah said. So Mariah, could you repeat it? Because I want to see if mine is the same.
So basically what I said is that God has standards for his children, and if you're not willing to be taught, to be reprimanded, and to be corrected, saying the same thing like twice, that you're not considered as one of his. It's almost like a disownment in a way.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I agree with Mariah. Like, I basically think like basically chasing, however the word is. I'm sorry, God, but I don't speak whatever. But like, if you believe in God and you chase Him as, for example, a man, a woman, or a woman, a man, or now in this generation, how they would, on how you chase people, that you need to chase God, that perspective, then He will take you as one of His children. But if ye chase the devil, which is basically you could like as chasing humans like that. Basically, like Mariah said, like it's disownment. Like so, basically, God's thinking humans are better than Him, which no one is. So yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Javen. So, I don't know how to spell that word. I'm going to tell you guys the meaning of chasing it so that there's no confusion with what that means. So, chase.
So, Maya,
Oh, did you have something to say? Go ahead, Chunk.
so chasing it and chastising it are different?
They're different forms of the same word. So
Oh,
they
okay.
have, yeah.
It's not just chase.
No, it's chasing.
What's the difference?
So chase means to run after something, or be moving towards something, while chasing means to correct by punishment or suffering.
Oh,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, that's what it means. It's a verb that means to inflict disciplinary or corrective punishment on someone, which is very. I like the fact that they use disciplinary or corrective punishment. God doesn't just beat people down just to do it. Does that make sense? He doesn't just cause things to happen just for his enjoyment so he can see you not be in a good circumstance. He's doing it to discipline you and to correct your behavior. Um it kind of goes back to what I was saying before, because in my Bible it says, because all are imperfect and need discipline and training, all true children of God are chastened at one time or another in one way or another. And then in my Bible, I know in the King James version it says bastard. Um and that's another word for illegitimate, but
No,
yeah, I know it's usually a curse word. It's a not nice word. But using the Bible in this definition, it's not a bad word. Kind of like with the donkey word. Um but like as I was actually, Javen, go ahead. I'm gonna let you talk first before I
What's
say
it
anything.
mean?
Okay, that's actually what I was just gonna get to.
Okay.
Um so like I was talking about earlier with parents not disciplining their kids. Like if God does not, well, if a parent doesn't discipline their kids, then technically they're not being a parent, so technically that kid does not have a parent, which makes them a bastard. And what a bastard is, a uh, a person born of parents who are not married to each other, but a lot of people say a fatherless child. Does that make sense? Because a lot of the times, usually, when people would have kids out of wedlock, the father would leave, right? So it's commonly thought of as a fatherless child. So if God doesn't discipline you and like you don't, because you can try to run from God and His discipline and be like, well, God, I don't want to do this because you're lying, thus and so to happen and da 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 da. And even when you know you're in the wrong and you know you did something you weren't supposed to do, it's like, well, whatever, I should be able to do whatever I want to do, da 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 da. Like acting like a bad kid, like because there are some people where they try to train their kids to the best of their ability and they are disciplining them and they are trying to make sure they are trained properly, but that kid just don't want to do what they're supposed to do, you know? And there are kids who are like that. There are people who are like that and they will leave because they're like, I don't want to do what you're telling me to do, even though what you're telling me to do is for my good. And you shouldn't be disciplining me. That's not what you're supposed to do, stuff like that. With that means that you have to leave and you can't, like, with God, he's not, if you're his child, he's gonna discipline you. That's just how it goes because he loves you and he wants you to be right. So he's going to correct you and try to put you back on the right path, right? So if you don't allow him to do that, then you can't be his son because that's what he does for his children is discipline them and put them back on the right path. But if you just want to be wrong, then he can't force you to get right. So he just can only let you be wrong. And if he sees, because God can do what he wants to do. Sometimes he has things happen because he sees that this person is hard-headed and gets them, and like he sees in their heart that they want to be saved, but right now they're just being really hard-headed. So he may get them back, but that's never guaranteed, which is why it's important. Even when you know it doesn't feel good, you know that God's doing it because he loves you. And it's better to just take his correction and let him put you back on that path than you veer off and not know if he will put you and not ever know necessarily if you'll be able to get back. Does that make sense? Because that's not a guarantee. And that's not, though the Lord has mercy on who he wants to have mercy on, that's not something to play with at all. That's not something to mess with at all. Don't ever think that you will be the exception because you don't know that. Does that make sense? Like it's a dangerous game to play. You thinking, well, I can just veer off and God will bring me back because he brought this person back and this person back and this person back. It's like just because he brought those people back, that doesn't give you a guarantee that you will be brought back. So it's better just to take the correction, stay on the path, ask the Lord to help you because God never said that you couldn't feel like this is hard and like feel unpleasantly about it, but you need to ask God to help you to go through it because you know that it's for your benefit. And a lot of the times we put ourselves into that mess. Not all the time. Sometimes God takes you through things because he wants to build something in you, and it's not really about what you doing anything. So don't always think that when you go through things it's because you did something. God just has a specific job for you, and he wants you to go through that so you can build certain awarenesses, certain skills, um, certain personality traits. Like he may want to build you to build more patience than most people have. Um, he wants you to be more loving than the people you were around. He wants you to be this, thus, thus, and so. So he puts you through things also to to get that in you and work out of you the stuff that he doesn't want in you, if that makes sense. But go ahead, Momo.
Yeah, basically I agree with what you're saying. And when you were talking about the person, oh, if they don't listen because they think that God will save them, it almost it I don't know, maybe it's because I've listened to Proverbs like a billion times, but it's giving fool vibes, you know? And because a fool is a person who um thinks that they can get the right answer by doing the equation wrong. And I don't know where I was going with that. I'll just be quiet.
It's okay, but yeah. That's also when I think about it, that's also why um the emphasis on keep coming even when you're struggling, keep coming to church even when you're struggling, keep praying even if you're struggling, keep reading your Bible, keep fasting, keep like because the thing is, even when you're going through stuff and even when God is correcting you, he hasn't thrown you away because he still loves you, right? That's the reason why you're going through the stuff you're going through. So that's also why there's an emphasis on just keep coming. Don't stop coming, if that makes sense. Because if you're going through something, that means God is trying to work something out of you or work something into you, and most likely he's trying to do both at the same time. At least in my experience, a lot of the times you lose a bad thing and you gain a good thing, or really, yeah, you lose a bad thing and you gain something good that will benefit you and will benefit the job that God has for you. That makes sense. Um, let's. I need to stop saying but here we are. Who wants to read verses 9 and 10? No one? I can read them because I have had you guys read. Okay, so verse 9 and 10. Let me pull up the King James version because I have like two versions going now. And this is like the 21st century King James version because I couldn't find any other version. So if it's slightly different, that's probably why, because it's supposed to be the most updated version. Here we go. So verse 9 and 10. Furthermore, we have had fathers of our flesh who corrected us, and we gave them reverence. Shall we not far rather be in subjection unto the Father of spirits and live? For verily they chastened us for a few days according to their own pleasure, but for he, for our profit, that we might be partakers of his holiness. You guys have, does anybody have anything to say about those two verses? Or any questions, anything like that?
It's very straightforward to me. Basically, you have to go through something to notice how it's good, how it was for your good, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree with that because the emphasis on um he in my Bible it says he disciplines us for our good. That's the whole point because he wants what's best for us. He loves us and he wants what's best for us. So he's gonna do stuff for our benefit, even though it don't necessarily feel good. Because like as a kid, you don't have technically a lot of control over your schedule or over some things that you may feel like you should have, like over what you're allowed to eat, over what you're allowed to wear, things like that, over where you're allowed to be. The reason for a parent who loves their kid, reason they put these sort of things in place and they discipline you when you don't do these things is because this stuff is for your benefit. It's for your benefit that you eat these things. It's for your benefit that you go to bed at this time so that you don't wake up cranky and be tired the entire day. It's your benefit that you don't wear these certain things because these certain things will bring unwanted negative attention to you. It's important that you aren't in these places because these places are not safe places. Does that make sense? Like everything that God tells us to do is for our benefit. He tells us not to what are things that he tells us not to do? Because there's a lot of things that people are understanding now that are godly principles, but they're seeing on the physical side why these things are bad and why, which goes back to why God tells us not to do these things. Does that make sense? Like with homosexuality, the reason we're not supposed to do that is because it's not what our bodies are for. It's against our design. It's not what we're for. We're not supposed to do that, which is why like God made us to procreate, and that's the exact opposite. Does that make sense? Which is why God's like, no, that's not what. No, no, you're supposed to procreate. Therefore, why would he be like? Why would he? Yeah, like he made male and female for a reason so that we could procreate and make more because he wanted more people because he loved us. He made us in his image and he wanted us to be fruitful and multiply. But with that, that's the exact opposite. It cuts off bloodlines, it cuts off families that could have been because it's not what God designed. And like a lot of people don't, time off. A lot of people don't think about it that way. And like, people don't have the understanding that the reason it's not okay is because that's not how God designed it and it's not about how you feel about it. If God put that stipulation in place, it's not about if you feel like it's okay. It's what he said. It's that's a boundary. And if you cross that boundary, you can't expect to be okay with God, which is also another thing why, you know, Pastor has said like you can't like, no, we're not a church that accepts it. It's not how God designed us. That's a boundary that the Lord says we're not supposed to cross. Right there, he says no, no means no. Does that make sense? And God has the final say because he made us. Like, why wouldn't you listen to the person who literally designed you? Like, how are you going to tell him that this is how you should be able to use your body when he literally designed your body? Like, make that make sense. Make that make sense. That it doesn't make sense, does it? Like it that doesn't make any type of sense. So like just thinking about that God tells us to do things for our benefit, for a spiritual benefit, but also for a physical benefit. Because like I was like praying is very important on the psychology and therapist side. Having meditating, which we already are told to do in the Bible, is to meditate on his word, is something that's very good to do. And affirmations, well, thinking on things that are pure and things that are lovely and things that are of good report. In psychology, we would call it affirmations. And like the world calls it affirmations, but God already put that in place and he's already told us to do all that stuff. Like the things he tells us to do and not do, they have a reason for it. And like now the world is they're trying to take credit for stuff that God already foresaw. Does that make sense? It's like yeah, the affirmation and stuff. Well, God already said that. He already told you to think, not to be thinking negatively. He told you to be thinking on Him and on things that are of goodness and love and perfection and things like that. Does that make sense? So it's like, yeah, it's, and if you want, you can dig into the stuff that God tells us not to do, and then you can research and see if there's any scientific research on why those things are bad. Because what happens is people don't understand this, but science just catches up with what God already says. God says this, science can help us show on the physical side partially why we shouldn't do this. There's a spiritual side, which God has that, and we may not always understand the spiritual side, but He gave us science so that we can somewhat understand the physical side. Makes sense. And then I mean, in verse 9, I find that interesting. It says, like, your earthly father and your earthly parents, they discipline you, and you usually, depends on how hard your head is. I have somewhat hard head, I'll say. Do you need some, Mom? Oh, okay. Um, you usually, after you get disciplined, you don't do what you did again. Or some like to say they just don't get caught again. But that's impossible with God. He's gonna see it. You can't not get caught. Like, so it's like, as a child, when your parents disciplined you into not doing something, for those of us who didn't like discipline and didn't like getting whooped, or did not enjoy the process of being disciplined, instead of rebelling, which you're gonna get more disciplined that way, or end up becoming a bastard, like it says in the Bible. You just didn't do what you weren't supposed to do again. Does that make sense? And we did that for like our human parents. So why wouldn't we do that for God? Once we have done something that we aren't supposed to do, and He just disciplines us, like, why wouldn't we give Him that same respect? Does that make sense? Because another reason also why you don't do things um that your parents don't want you to do is because you do, hopefully you love your parents and you don't want to disappoint them. Why should we think of God any differently? Like, we know we're not perfect, and so we are going to trip up, so we are going to be disciplined, but our hearts will be in a place where we're like, Lord, I'm going to do the best I can because I don't want to disappoint you. But with that, you also have to know that when you mess up, you should not, like, condemn yourself, because that's not your place either. All you can do is ask for God's forgiveness, whatever He has you go through because you did that, go through it. Look at what you can learn from it, because the whole point of Him taking you through whatever He took you through was for you to learn something and do better. That's pretty much the process, because as a kid, that's pretty much what you have to do. Like, when you do something bad, your parents, at least my parents, didn't let us have a pity party and cry and be like, well, I'm bad and all these things. It's like, no, that's not the point. Isn't the point is not to be remorseful, where you feel bad because you basically got caught. And yeah, you basically got caught. It's about being repentful. I don't know if that's a word, but repenting and actually wanting to change, because you know this isn't okay, and you know you've um disappointed someone that you care a lot about and that you're trying to please. So you're going to do everything that you can do, and also ask God to help you to not do that again and to learn from whatever He has you go through. Okay, so it is 9:30. Does anybody have any questions or anything that they want to say before we close out?
Thank you all for coming.
Yes, thank you guys. No, it'd be hard in the school year because everyone's tired. I know I'm tired, bro. I'm ready for summer. But yeah, thank you guys. Yeah, I'm ready to stop school. I love school and I love education, but the only reason I'm getting good grades right now is because the Lord is keeping me propped up. Because, bro, I've almost dropped the ball on several occasions. Don't laugh at me. Okay, well, if there's nothing else anyone wants to say, guess we'll call it a night, you guys. So,
All right, everyone stay safe. Love you all.
Love
yeah.
you all. Bye.
Yeah. May God bless you and keep you guys. Night, night. Love you.